just a provocation, really. Thinking further, so from the virtual and physical, and it connects to sort of a mini proposal that comes at the very end, and it's about asking your contribution. So information and interaction. So discuss a little bit about what is fashion and actually what type of information is appropriate to be displayed in different types of interaction. And also how appropriate is dynamic visualization and quantitative design decision making. Because we see like a lot of, we see VR and then we also see fabrication and all of that. And to what extent are we thinking about the information that is conveyed for design decision making behind that, and also to communication to clients? And what is this information? Sometimes we talk a little bit too much about the media, but we do forget about what actually are being displayed. So this is just a provocation, first slide of provocation to discuss. And mainly as an example here is like coming from the simulation, the energy simulation side. It's very common to display things that architects don't understand, or some types of information that architects don't understand and are not familiar with, and then use a lot of visual things to try and convey that. But actually, if they don't really engage with the specific information we are displaying, what is the point of it? So, is it important that we display temperatures of surfaces? Is that relevant? And yes, if it is, how? And is VR an appropriate medium for that? And, so just stepping a bit back from the practicalities and abstract thinking.
That's certainly something I came out of an article, that is to start thinking of VR beyond just visual and
yeah.
I think we mustn't underestimate the fact that we're still kind of embryonic stage. We still have a lot to solve with VR. But certainly seeing some fluid simulation. I was thinking in my head, how would you solve that, or how would you communicate that within the VR environment? Because it is going to be the future. Because it is potent. We're dealing at the moment with technology which is not quite there, and kind of issues with motion sickness and stuff like that. But it's such a potent enveloping force that long term it is going to be an issue. And I think also, to add to some of this, there's the issue now, well, do we need to build architecture? In a VR world, do we really need to build architecture?
Yeah, so
is it still relevant?
Is
it relevant? And also the whole idea now that we can test environments and do this without having to build anything. I think that's a really interesting question. It's like having been involved.
Do we actually have to do it, or do it because it's fashion, and then invest a lot of money, and then
or
do we have the time to do it? And
well,
should we be investing in something else?
Well, I mean, on the question whether do we need to build architecture or not, I think Michael Weinstock's presentation put it quite well. And if you look, for example, to China, I mean, there is need for new cities, and the question is not whether we need to build it. The question is what we build.
And what's the information? That's the point. What is the information? Because you cannot clutter the person. All of a sudden, you just start putting all this information together. You have 2 or 3 design alternatives to compare. It becomes quite cluttered, and then you have a problem, because when it's just one thing, it's easier. But when it's 2, 3, 4 things, then it can be quite complicated.
But I also think that going back to that discussion, as animals, we have certain environmental needs. Yeah. But as visual animals, then some of that need to be taken off by VR, or how we perceive the world. That has potentially a radical effect on architecture in terms of what we build. I don't deny that we don't need to build, but I think you're right in saying we should ask ourselves what do we need to build, because theoretically you can put us inside a cell with a VR, and environmentally we may be
But you don't need us anyway.
No, that's not what you're saying.
That's the next issue, is how much information and stuff. I don't do this for this, but I just it's in its infancy, but we can already see from VR how is this going to go as the technology develops and evolves?
No, we do need to. We just want to use it better.
Yeah.
That's the point.
I think architects certainly have a bigger role to play now. I think outside just straight building. I've been, I guess, practicing as an architect for the last 20 years, and I've not built anything real. It's all been virtual. So I've lived in that world and made money from that world. And I think it's interesting now with this crossover VR, with architects are beginning to take a kind of a world seriously, a world without bricks and mortar.
I think the question is not VR, yes or no. The question is, it's more how can we have the different people who build buildings, how can we have them talk together, and how can we have them communicate. We need the engineers, we need you guys, for example, that you can say, okay, this is the cell structure which we would recommend to provide you. We need maybe some solar engineers who can provide you this information. We have to communicate with the people who are using these spaces, because we're building these spaces for these users and so on. So we need a communication platform.
But we don't share a common language, do we?
We share. I would say we are sharing the common language, which is the 3D space that we are using and that we are living in. And this is what I learned over the last years about virtual reality. It's the communication. To bring in a bunch of all different people. Some are engineers, some are designers, some are architects, some are artists, some are regular users, and by kind of bringing them into a predicted reality, I mean, they come into a reality which will be there in a few years. They can really start and communicate. They can communicate about, okay, do we want to have the lights like this, or do we want to have it lower? And somebody else can say, okay, no, I would recommend this in a different way. And I think this is the main point, bringing these people together. VR is just one technology.
Yeah.
If we build one-to-one models, this will also be fantastic. But the general problem with architecture is that we are building prototypes, and compared to industry where they build 20, 50 cars and crash them against the wall and optimize them, we just don't have the time, and we have to simulate everything in advance.
We don't get to, that's another thing about VR, we don't get the experience in the building as it is. We experience it in plan sections,
Which is
and mechanisms.
Which I would, sorry to interrupt, which I would completely question, is it the right thing to teach our architect students in the first year to kind of squeeze the space into 2D? Somehow I always have the feeling that we should leave them in space and bring them down to plans.
Yeah, we shouldn't be scared as architects to actually build. And I think sometimes we can get obsessed with drawings and not actually be in the world of 3D. And we should use this technology more, I think, certainly on an education level, to actually put people into that space and build. Because the mechanisms we build, because it's such an expensive thing, you've got to go through the process to try and communicate with people. But if you can build straight away in the space, how will that change our architecture? I think, we're already seeing with kind of you guys with kind of the technologies that enabling you to describe different shapes.
Yeah, like we kind of work in 2D, 2D, like the production of 2D in most of the projects is contractual for us now.
Yeah.
But we have found fabricators and constructors who can take our 3D models and build head off. And the 2D production is done at a later stage just for contractual.
Yeah. It's kind of almost like an old system of doing things.
How often do you think the stereo projection would be beneficial for your work?
In the office, actually, we are also looking at VR. There is a team specifically looking at VR, so it is kind of becoming a mode of presentation now to clients. So we invite clients into the office. There's a cave where they come in and see the buildings. So the clients move around inside this cave, so they have an understanding of the buildings much better than just seeing 2D or visual. So it's a much better visualizing tool, but most of them have complained about seasickness.
And you in your work, I mean, when you...
Yeah, so I'd say the extent to which it's used in the practice is more as a marketing tool than as a design tool. It's a client-facing thing.
Which is my next point. Which is my next point.
It's not technology, like probably this is the first time I saw something very good. There's a link between VR and digital model. So which is what we would like to do, but we haven't found it yet. So this was the first time we actually saw it, and you guys can come over to the office and show it.
Yes,
And-
speak, do you want to speak?
And
further?
this is only geometry either, right? What you've seen so far, and once you have your simulations in the background that define geometry, then all of a sudden it gets better. And or if you have the thermal simulations or your energy or your structure simulations together with that 3D environment, then it becomes a new tool. Not the medium itself. It's I'd like to compare it to PowerPoint. You don't need PowerPoint, right? But you can do nice presentations with PowerPoint. And if you have an interactive tool inside PowerPoint that shows you how things grow, right? It's better. It's not the matter of PowerPoint. It's not the matter of 3D glasses and stereo view. It's the application, the interaction, the bringing together tools and people, which makes a difference.
So that's the first step, right? To have a technology which does that.
Yeah.
Where you can
But
start.
I think the
building up
technology
the
is there. I think we are at the stage of the connections are still missing.
Yeah,
partially.
I think part of the thing we do, I think the reason it's being used for marketing is kind of obvious, but I think it also grows out of the visualization side as well. And it comes out from kind of games industry side, not really taking it seriously. I think certainly kind of schools of architecture, they start looking at how we design in a purely 3D, almost going back to kind of medieval master builder. By the way, a lot of people still build around the world, not through plans and sections. You know, it's kind of a Western kind of sorry. That sense as well. And maybe we need to kind of go back and actually start an architectural education in a 3D. And you can do it now, whereas it's too expensive to do, but you can't build, nobody builds in architecture schools.
But I think design models currently, I mean, maybe the more experimental ones are moving the other way. And to their credit, I mean, the interface between the designer and the model isn't a one-to-one thing anymore. You don't make a decision and move something, make a decision and move something, right? You're embedding decisions by programming how the model behaves. So it's a much more distributed idea of design. And it's only enabled by taking on some sort of computational fluency with building your own design models.
But you need to experience that as a space, because eventually that's what it's
Is space the right venue? Is a one-to-one embedding in space the right venue to be making design decisions? Because then you're still limited to being, I want this to be here, I want this to be. You can't make systemic design decisions. You can't make design decisions that impact other design decisions. It's difficult to do that.
But the question is in general, I mean, you are top notch, I mean, you are the gurus in this field, and you are, let's say, 0.001% of architecture which is built in the world. What about the rest of 99.99 something percent? Do we have to kind of squeeze them into this direction, or do we say, okay, this is one kind of developing of architecture, and we have this 99% who do another kind of
I don't know if
architecture?
it's a kind of architecture so much as it's just a different expectation of your design model. The way that the designer interacts with their model, whether it's making weird shapes or organizing a brief, right? It's just that your model has the capacity to organize itself to some degree.
But maybe some designers just don't want this automation. Maybe they or automation.
And I'd say they're crippling themselves.
Maybe they just want to decide on their own, and they want to shape it on their own. And I wouldn't say it's better or worse. It's just different.
I'd say it's difficult to. I'd say they're doing themselves a disservice by sticking to that design model because it's limiting the impact of their design decisions. The models that there's a model that augments your ability to make design decisions, and there's a model where you make design decisions the same way we've been making them for years. Right? It's one decision yields one change. Whereas these augmented models allow that to propagate a little bit differently in a non-linear way. You make a move, and it has a larger impact on the design system.
I mean, you could almost read it as a different kind of model of making material, right? So if you use cardboard, if you're using clay, there is a different response to your motion to your intent, to your design decision you're making on the piece of clay or on the piece of cardboard.
Yeah, I think which is exactly why physical form finding techniques get integrated into that discussion so much, is because there are examples of exactly that type of model. Right? You have a set of components that make up your model. You constrain them in certain ways, and you can act on them in certain ways. But in between your actions, they're figuring out what they want to do. They're making the pattern. Like without hanging a chain, I don't think people would have figured out how to just draw a cat area, right? No one would have arranged paper clips into a cat area magically because they just willfully wanted to get there. That discovery relied on a self-organizing model. And then after that happened, yeah, we can learn how to represent a cat area mathematically, sure. But
So in the experimental aspect.
yeah, I'd say so.
What I believe is like there is physics involved in design, and that has to be somehow embedded into, like if you're doing VR to visualize it, there should be physics in that. Like it can't be just visualizing to.
yeah.
I think just going quickly back to the point you made, I think VR is the kind of the last bit left in terms of visualizing, but it's also a very important step because it's how most people will consume the architecture. Yeah, I'm not saying don't do anything else because no, the plan has a space, it has the section has a space, but for too long, I think there's been a primacy of those and not enough of experience in architecture from that 1.6 meters walking around.
Yeah.
And I think,
Yeah, we agree totally.
yeah, you look at buildings sometimes and you think, well, it looks beautiful in plan. Yeah, it was gorgeous in plan, and you walk through, it's like, it's almost designed for the kind of fabrication and nothing else.
Yeah, we had the same experience like a couple of days back. We were walking here in Cardiff, and then by seeing at the building, we could be seeing that it was done in 2D, and it looked good in 2D, but in the space there, you cannot look at the building from a eye point of view. And then it's clearly evident that that building was not gone through that process.
Yeah. One good thing is Google Earth, right? You look at a lot of pictures on Google Earth, and all of a sudden you see, I've seen that building so many times, but now I know why it has that shape, right? And yes, I would go one step further and say 2D is too much. Often you need to go 1D. Simulations often are one-dimensional. Material flow processes are one-dimensional, and you have to show that in 1D. And some problems are 2D, and you do it in 2D, and a lot of what you do is 3D, so do it in 3D. But do the combination.
I think another step with VR, which would be kind of interesting as well, is getting real-time data into VR, so that you can kind of be in the site a bit more and experience the site a bit more, and maybe put some kind of real-time simulations on it as well. There's a kind of time travel element about it, which I think is quite interesting, and being able to move around kind of continental. I think that's an element as well, because it's going to be the next day when you start introducing more data into it. I think that will be very, very interesting.
Going back to this, I'd like to introduce a similar topic, which is related to what you said. Are we crippling ourselves or not? So, to what extent we should go user need, and to what extent we should go technological push? Because what you said is exactly that. If you don't use the current technology, then you're crippling yourself. But then 99% or 98% of people don't. But then they also have very specific needs, and shouldn't we listen to their needs and see what new technologies can be developed from there in terms of interaction and in terms of information? Because there's and it's sliding between would be many people in the 98% playing, I cannot convince the investor, I cannot convince my client, and things like that, and that is a very different type of information that you have to show to your client compared to the information that you have to use to make design decisions. So sometimes your virtual reality will be different because the investor is looking for very specific things, whereas you as a designer are looking for very different things. So,
but that's why you do like whenever we have to convince someone within the office, we go to a workshop or something like this, build the prototype, and then it becomes easier to convince them of the advantages of the system. Because you have a built proof, and there is a proof of concept, and then you can tell what's the advantages of that compared to your traditional model. So there should be a prototype to, before you start convincing an investor, there should be a prototype to convince them.
But that works well for physical, tangible elements, right? Whenever you talk about performance, such as energy performance, that is not as tangible as a physical shape, and then you don't have the same ability to build a prototype. So what do you show? And
Then there is
it's a very different thing.
Actually, related to this issue, there was a project from 1995, if I'm not wrong, from MIT. In the piece, were projected daylight information and also wind simulation on physical modeling. More than 20 years, still I feel gaps from the point of perception, not more perception or the emphasis on the just visual perception. Still the interfaces didn't go further beyond than the Earth project. Why not we can project the simulations or analysis on the three-dimensional environment or any surface? So why still do we need just glasses or cities in that case?
I think relating to really question a little bit what you're saying, the types of information of the real-time data flow, maybe some of these things that I would also kind of maybe try and flip things around the other side of the virtual or the physical, whichever way. And now we talk a lot about simulation and kind of the virtual representations of something that isn't real. But also maybe we have to think a little bit about the types of information that are real and do exist that we then virtualize kind of, so we don't have to think of it as like two poles and what can we do in the middle, but actually maybe it's a little bit more of a spatial matrix that we need to know.
That therefore the point of consulting with the 98% on their everyday basis. So what actually do they want? Because sometimes you offer something and say, well, I don't really need that.
I do
Does that
remember,
mean they're crippled? I don't know.
I do remember going, when I started in the 90s doing visualizations, right? Going into offices saying, oh no, we don't use computers here, we never will. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you go 20 years down the line and even the smallest practices want to be able to use it because clients get used to it. Even smaller clients, they want to see it. You go and get a kitchen redone, they will do you, you will do your 3D visualization. So it's kind of the expectations of the thing. And I think there might be a lag, but I think you are going to get more and more people eventually. It will tip over where people will want to use it. And there's plenty of other, there's interesting things around the architecture industry that are using VR. But what's interesting is VR is really suited for architecture because it's about spatiality. I'm not sure about how it goes beyond that, all the other discussions. I think it's interesting. But I think one of the things that's called visualization you get is an architect gives you something to visualize and they say it doesn't look very good and say, well, it's your building and that's what your building looks like. And I think that's the other side of this as well, that it could improve architecture. And I think even small firms should take them on board because it gives them the opportunity to walk through their own design and to pick out problems with their own design early on. And if they're not using 3D now, well, they're missing out. In the same way, if you're not going to be using VR in the future, it's the same argument. You know what I mean? Because it's about representation and what's there.
Your earlier slide, I like that quote about the technological push, that nowadays, with all the technologies, sometimes we actually need to find the problems to our solutions.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. And I think that's a good point because usually the users don't know what they want. You know, and I would come down with Steve Jobs, who firmly believed that users never know what they want until they see it. Sometimes that's where all the designers can put those things forward. It's the same thing with all those technologies. You know? So we have that wonderful solution beyond. And again, I don't know the problem that it can be applied to. So that's in a way our job, and to make it more, then
it's to make it more interactive so that
enough of a desire for that.
Okay, but even for a practice who exclusively said, I want to engage with the 99%, and I want to respond exclusively to user need. I don't want to, I'm not interested in local sculpture or physical form finding or any geometric gymnastics. I just want to respond to what people want in architecture. Would it not be in their benefit to have a model that self-organizes with respect to what people want?
But if you say a self-organizing model, somebody has to make the decisions before that it's self-organizing.
Not necessarily. What if your model is based on machine learning, where you could have a model that presents solutions data set to what people like? If you could evaluate how people felt moving through space, you built a data set of how people felt moving through space, you could have a model that suggests design solutions based on a history or an understanding of what people want in space.
Yes, and then all these hunts, they would follow the crowds, and you would have the same building for everyone.
Just like I do.
Yes,
that's like what Reddit does.
That's not what we want to go for. It is very, very difficult if you have algorithms that help you in defining to keep them from doing the design by themselves, right? You have to, if you only have an optimization that does it the perfect way, you will never find these tons of alternative options.
That's not the point.
I'm suggesting a model that you interact with. That doesn't
learning,
have to organize itself.
but the learning,
playing with it, and it's a dialogue between you and the model. You're not saying model go, okay, I'm going to use that. You're playing with it, and it's suggesting to you, and you're suggesting to it. It's wildly different.
Can I also say
that's the point, yeah. You can learn with the software, and the software can learn with you, and then it becomes an interactive process. And then the software records the learning from you, and then can suggest things back, and you can adjust, and you can talk to the software.
I also think it's
that's the point in this one.
Technological development we're talking about. Maybe what I was trying to say earlier with the user needs is that actually maybe we have to expand a little bit how we map user needs. Like maybe it's less of kind of we need to kind of supplement it with large data sets and look at different ways of being able to visualize and navigate real-time spatial data and kind of visualize it in that sense so that we can kind of couple it with things like machine learning so that it's not a purely kind of digital based on a kind of virtual data set, but that's kind of machine learning trained on virtual sets, but kind of engaged in a design discussion based on specific user needs that are mapped using new technologies.
And I think also it's a matter of expanding, like having different types of users. You know, the more diverse, the better, because then the more options you give to your machine learning to learn.
So, one nice example, we had this morning. You've all seen the plans of the cities with the wide roads, right? And you can do way better with machine learning. You track the position of each car, you know where there are traffic jams. That's what machine learning is doing today, right? Optimizing these roads. And you could build optimal streets, so wide streets where you need them, small streets where you don't need them. But you will never ever find the other solution, which is sharing cars, car sharing, or taking a train, right? Because you're writing an optimization for streets.
No, that's not optimization. It's not optimization. You can do wide statistic searches, and you can look at different ways people drive, and you can look at different streets, and you can look at history of streets, and machine learning covers all that. And it's going to be a statistical examination of all that. It depends on how you want to expand the scope of your learning. You are just narrowing the scope of your learning to the size of the road versus the flow, and you can expand it to much more.
No, machine learning also leads into automated cars. You won't need streets in the future, actually. Like it will figure out.
What I think what you want is artificial intelligence, so a system that optimizes not only what you said it's to optimize, but what
No.
grows and does it all automatically.
No, we are talking
Oh,
about
that's
artificial intelligence as a helper, not as a solution.
One of the things that I've seen over the last little bit, especially today, which I thought was quite interesting, is a lot of research going into why things in architecture work, and the competition will be why. Follow that through is long term. Is if we are going to solve these and we can have a lot of these algorithms, or we can push it into a system that creates architecture, and therefore that questions the role of do we need architects, and also should we as architects be developing systems to enable people to build themselves using restrictions and systems. Is that the way we're going? Because we've seen that in lots of other, that's how other industries, games industries have gone from making games to enabling other people to make games. That's when you're making your money now. And you're seeing a lot of industries. And how does this affect the role of the architect? Because we can say, well, where's the role of the engineer in this? Kind of going, because we can now turn it into an algorithm pretty much, yeah?
No.
Well, there's a debate. But there's a debate. Come on, but a lot of that you can kind of develop. You're developing stuff and you're pressing a button that's rationalising it, yeah? So that is part of potentially a kind of an engineer's role. Should we be looking at enabling, should we be enablers of other people to do architecture using all this information?
I don't think that's the point, because it's like genetical engineering, isn't it? I mean, you can well say you forbid for it to be researched because you don't want to create artificial people. But then on the other hand, you can explore a lot of uses for genetical engineering, which are not to create artificial people, but to solve cancer problems and so on. And that's the point here. It's not about replacing the architect.
No, I'm saying you need to start having
enabling the architect further.
Industries.
That's the point.
It's
about enabling the architect to do more. It's not about replacing the architect.
Well, no, that's what's happening in other industries. Okay, people are being replaced, and you have to talk within the industry. If you don't talk and discuss it, I've seen it in other industries, you kind of push Europe away. And I think it's quite an interesting debate now with all this technology. What does it lead to? Is the role of the architect changing, and is the role left will be to actually should be thinking about how do we enable people to do stuff? Because if you don't, you won't be part of the future discussion in architecture.
I think it is still, if you look at history, like architects were wearing multiple hats, like of an engineer, of a designer, etc. I think it's with these technological tools, it's again going back to that state where the designer is also an engineer, is also something else, he's wearing multiple hats.
Yeah, but I think that's what the one thing I think, is what you can't replace is that kind of creative spark, that initial thought of what are we going to do. That suits potentially the architect very well, because lots of other enders, automation, all these things about being able, you talk about simulating heat and energy simulation. Well, that you can do now with this software, so you kind of replace some of the role of the engineer, yeah?
Well, it's not the software that does the simulation, it's the people, it's the engineer.
Yeah, but the engineer runs the software, but potentially it's removing some of the engineering engineers who need to do the work.
You still need to know how the software works.
Yeah.
I'm not saying only engineers.
And which answers it can give you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you.
Yeah, but the point is, you're not getting rid of everything. You're getting rid of, say, 10% of the engineer's work, you're getting rid of 20% of the engineer's work. Therefore, you need 20% less engineers potentially. And yeah, it has to be thought about, because this is where we go. It's something people don't necessarily want to look at.
I think there will be no division of profession, like saying this guy is an architect, this guy is an engineer. Future, there will be a person who will be able to do different things. And you can't define that he's an architect, he's an engineer. There will be that blur, there will be blurriness between professions.
Yeah, I get that. That's what it is. Yeah. But I think it's not talked enough about within other industries. They've been forced to have this in manufacturing. They've been forced to have this. Yeah, it's that. So.
Anyway, I'd like to invite you all to contribute to special issue I'm organizing about simulation and the user. So these types of discussion are really welcome there. To do papers with examples, practical examples. It doesn't need to be thermal simulation or energy simulation. Any kind of simulation is accepted.
What are you trying to say?
Wait, where is the conference?
Well, because no. It's accepted, and the whole point is to sort of expand the discussion. This is Journal of Building Performance Simulation, which is a specific journal that tends to work a lot with environmental simulations, so thermal, lighting, acoustics, and flow. But by no means it excludes other types of simulation. It's really a try to outreach different types of simulation and look for different insights. So. For abstracts, we are asking the deadline for abstracts in beginning of July. So it's just a simple abstract, and we sort of give feedback if it fit within the scope or not. And then the full paper is middle of December. So still time.
So if you want to have more information about that, you can email me.
And then pass the information to me.
Publish some of the stuff we saw today, some of the presentations. They're going to be available. It's not people tend not to do that.
It's on the stick.
Ah, I've not got a stick. That's why.
It's not
Unless you've got a
only
stick.
it's not only on the seat, maybe you want to comment about it.
Yeah, but I was just transferring stuff yesterday, wasn't I?
If I'm allowed to.
Are they? Is there any spare sticks around?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings me to the housekeeping. Yeah, well, there should be more sticks outside. So the proceedings are on these small USB sticks. You all have one. If not, get one. On the other side, the papers will be published on CUNYCAT. So they're anyway available on the open access domain. So they are freely available. We also have recorded your sessions. You have signed these agreements. So I will edit them a bit, and then I guess we will have them on the eCAADe website and also on the symposium's website, which is connected to the Welsh School of Architecture's website. At the end, I have to say thank you to many people. First and foremost to Wasim, who is unfortunately not here anymore, but without him, so he was incorrect with the 99.99%. Without him, this would not have happened. Many people in the background, which I'm not able to mention all of them. Nicolina, for example, is here. Helen has helped a lot. Kate has helped a lot. Clarice. The workshop people have supported us. The IT people have supported us. Not at least our head of school, who trusted me enough and Wasim to actually run this. I have to thank our keynote speakers for their brilliant presentations and keynotes and inspiring ideas and points of discussion we had. So thank you, Urs, for presenting. Also, you guys from the workshops, coming from Saadit's office, coming all the way down from Aarhus and from Stuttgart, which is far away, or although physically not, but going to the island takes quite a thing. So anyway, thank you very much for being here doing these workshops. I think it was an intensive time, an intensive 3 days. For me, very enjoyable, having all these new ideas, having all these amazing the amazing people here. I really enjoyed, and that's what I wanted to say also. Thank to you for coming over, for sharing your research, and I hope we're gonna see and meet again on other occasions, because there are many interesting occasions, other conferences and presentations. So thank you very much.
And then we say a special thank you to you, Benjamin, for organizing it. Yeah.